Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Bryant Klewer, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to have you on the podcast and hear a little bit more about your backstory. You've been pretty active in the community, so anytime someone is, and then we get to have them on the podcast so everyone else in the world can get to experience and hear about your story is always exciting for me. So I will give it to you for the basic intro, you know, what you do for a living, how you train, where you're from, all those good things.
Yeah. So I'm obviously Bryant. I am a father of two girls, 6-year-old getting ready to be 7 and 3-year-old. Obviously a husband of one. Live in Georgetown, South Carolina, which is, for most people that don't know, about an hour north of Charleston, hour south of Myrtle Beach. So right on the coast, kind of midpoint of the state. Train in my garage and deal with the heat and humidity that we have down here in the low country. But yeah, I'm in management for a large automotive company. That's kind of my deal, what I do.
Awesome. And how long have you been in South Carolina?
So I'm born in Charleston, raised for the most part in Raleigh, North Carolina, but came back down here 5 years ago.
Okay, cool. And what is your garage gym setup?
Well, I'll flip you around if I can.
Yeah.
So I've got the Titan T3 folding rig,
Nice.
Rogue barbell, got 365 pounds of bumpers, a couple of kettlebells, old school Schwinn Airdyne, got
Nice.
the
It's
treadmill
like the one
that
I
I can,
had.
yeah, it's been converted to the Assault Fitness monitor and stuff like that, so easier for tracking. Got a treadmill that I just picked up secondhand, got a pretty good deal on it just in case. You know, it rains here obviously a lot in the summertime, but if I want to do any type of running or anything, can do that. And I've got 20 to 50s on the dumbbells, got the sandbag and push sled. So
Nice. So it's a really good setup. How long have you been accumulating your gear?
So in December of 2019, just before the pandemic, I decided I wanted to kind of get away from, yeah. A lot of people told me I should have played the lottery.
Yeah.
But I went ahead and kind of bit the bullet and bought most of it. The barbell, the rig, made the lifting platform, got all the bumpers and stuff for a birthday present for myself. Wanted to kind of get away from the gym. I'd been going to a CrossFit gym, doing that for a while, but with my schedule and having kids and a family and wanting to be involved with them, it didn't really work out. Having to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to work all day, come home and be exhausted and just go to sleep and not be able to be involved with them. So I kind of wanted to make the move away from that, be able to spend more time at home, and working out in the garage is the best way to be able to accomplish my goals and be involved with my family.
Yeah, that's a big reason for a lot of people is, you know, being able to, I don't know, you just not be away from family as much, because when you add it all up, that's a really big deal. So you've been doing that. How have you enjoyed that transition from going to a gym, maybe having the community, versus now, as far as I know, you're probably training mostly on your own. How has that been?
Yeah. So I think honestly, the reason that it's probably stuck is because the community that we have online. I enjoyed the community aspects of going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so my one kind of big fear was obviously working out by myself. Am I going to have that motivation to keep pushing and stuff of that sorts? But being involved with the community, I mean, I just wrapped up the Murph 52 mission last Memorial Day, but like the group there is fantastic. If you ever have questions or anything, being able to just drop in and quickly get some answers and get that extra motivation and push if you need to. So I think the community that's been fostered that you've got is truly probably the biggest reason why I've been able to stick with it.
That's awesome, man. Really good to hear. I always say, I'm a nerd on the programming. I love all that stuff, but I mean, the community is the real reason. Like that's the number one for a lot of people. No matter how good we try and make the programming, it's always going to be about the people. And so I think the more you invest in that community, the better. How was the Murph 52 mission? Let's talk about that for a minute. And we've had a few people on who've done it and stuff, but I'd love to hear about your personal experience with it.
Yeah. So obviously Memorial Day 2020, did Murph. I had completed 2 probably prior to that. Just kind of doing that in the CrossFit community, obviously. I had some experience with it, and it definitely was on that pedestal for me. It kicked my butt the first couple times that I did it. And so I figured, what better way to kind of train and prepare and see how I can do. Obviously, I heard your backstory with it. And then a couple of the guys, Trampus and everybody else started talking about doing that project. And I was like, that's fine. I'll be in on it and, get through it. Dealt with some injuries along the way. I had tendonitis in my wrist I've been dealing with for the last probably 2 cycles now. Had a lower back injury probably back in January of this year. Had to kind of modify and do what you can do, but the biggest thing is finding a way to say yes and continuing to push through. So made up a couple of them towards the end that I had missed, taking some extra rest to try to recuperate and not overdo it, and got through, but definitely decreased my time. And it's something, I can run out and do now and not have to really prepare for it and still post some good times and get through it.
That's awesome. Oh, well, now that you finished that, what are some of your current goals? Chasing anything? What are you going for now?
So that's actually kind of my biggest thing. One of the getting to it, the best advice that I have for other garage gym athletes is to certainly always have something that you're pushing for. That's you have to have that motivation to continue to train and not make excuses and whatnot. But I've got the Charleston Bridge Run that's coming up in September. I've got the Asheville Beast that's coming up in November. So currently training for those 2 things.
That's awesome.
And
I think a lot of the community is going to hit that one, aren't they?
Yeah. So I obviously just finished up last week with the what was it, the 10K version.
Mm-hmm. And is it at the same place? Is it the race?
So it's in Mills. Yeah, it's in Mills River, so it's not actually at Black Mountain, but yeah, there's going to be quite a few that are coming from all across the country to do the Beast in November.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you got to have something to be always pushing and training for.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I think it just makes it a little bit more interesting and fun, and then getting involved with the community makes it even better.
Oh, absolutely.
So you mentioned before you started the garage gym that you were into CrossFit. Take us back through your athletic or training journey. Like how long have you been into fitness, and what other things have you experimented with or done?
Yeah, so growing up, obviously played some sports, baseball, played some football, hockey, lacrosse. Got out of that in high school, essentially. Put on some weight, started just doing some bro lifting, if you will, in my early 20s. Got out of that when I got married, gained a ton of weight back. And so decided, obviously, I wanted to be around for my kids. A couple of years ago, I don't know, 2016, maybe, bought my daughter a bicycle and tried to teach her how to ride it, and was running around in the street with her and just couldn't keep my breath and having to take breaks. And I just couldn't deal with that anymore. I wanted to be able to be involved with my kids growing up, play sports with them, play with them and their friends, and just do basic stuff. And so I realized at that point, something's got to give. So started doing kind of intermittent fasting and working out, obviously joined the CrossFit community, and went from 230 down to 160 in about a year.
That's huge, man.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard work, but I've been there before. And I think that's kind of the bigger difference for a lot of people that are just getting in. It's not always super easy if you don't have a past of knowing what you have to do to be there.
Right.
So, it's difficult, but if you've been there before, you kind of know what you have to do and what to expect. But, yeah, I mean, I obviously did CrossFit for a while, and then kind of moved naturally just over to lifting at home because I wanted to be around my family. Biggest thing for me is obviously my kids now are coming out here and playing on the rings, like you talked about on the podcast on Monday. Play with the rings and lift some small weights, and I want to foster that in them so that they can get into fitness and enjoy being healthy growing up. So my oldest daughter, we've got her a barbell. We got one of the little Rogue kids barbells over there in the corner for her. So she comes out here and lifts with me. She's done Murph with me a couple of times. Obviously
Awesome.
have to modify some stuff for her, but just foster that and have her out here and enjoying running around and doing pull-ups and dips and all that kind of stuff. So
That's great, man. I really feel like that's the best part of having a garage gym. So it sounds like you like it, but I'll ask anyway, how do you like training in your garage gym?
Oh man, I love it. To be able to wake up and throw on some clothes and just walk outside and, lift some heavy weight or do whatever I got to do. It's nice not having to travel to a gym or deal with their schedule versus my schedule. I can just do it whenever I want to.
Yeah. And are you working from home now, or do you still go into the office?
No, I go into the office.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so what time do you typically train? Is it early mornings for you? Is it evenings? When do you like to hit it?
No, I work out in the evenings when I get home. I like to kind of get up and get going for the day. I'm not a morning person, so I've got to have 3 or 4 cups of coffee in the morning just to get everything going. And working out seems to work best for me after I'm awake and have been moving around for the day. I don't have a sedentary job, so I'm doing a lot of walking around and bending over and crouching and stuff. So it's almost like my normal natural kind of stretch routine before working out anyway. So I'm loose and ready to go by the time I get home.
And any tips for anybody else listening who, I know some people find it really hard to hit a training session after a long work day. And especially in your situation, it's not even just a long work day. It's a long work day with physical activity, so how do you find that motivation or that energy to still hit a training session at the end of your day?
I think that helps me actually build more mental fortitude, because there are some long, strenuous and stressful days. I hate lifting after a hard day.
Yeah.
My job can get fairly stressful pretty quickly. And so there's those days where I'm on my way home and I'm just like, man, I really don't want to. And, you almost have like a meet yourself Saturday sometimes during midweek, where you just have to mentally overcome the fact that, you're half of you is trying to convince yourself, just call it a day. It's been rough, don't do it. You need to relax. And then, having to find that mental willpower to just get out there and just start the workout. And at that point, I'm good to go. You just have to find a way to say yes.
Yeah, that's no easy thing to do. Like easier said than done, and it's awesome that you're doing it. But that's ultimately the answer, right? You just got to do it.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a secret, and you build that mental fortitude over time. Well, good on you for getting it done. Let's get to some of these other questions, man. What's the hardest workout you've ever done?
The the Asheville race that I just completed was probably the worst.
Yeah, what made it so bad?
Obviously, I'm at 10 feet of elevation, so I'm at sea level. So going up to Asheville and hitting those hills, man, that was killer. It wasn't the altitude that got to me, and that was kind of my concern. You know, it's not that high of an elevation, but the hills going down, it kills your quads. You know, trying to slow yourself and stuff. And I was not prepared for that. And then my hamstrings still are hurting from going up. My calves are still sore. So I've taken the last couple of days off and just hit yesterday's workout today. But yeah, it's that threw me for a loop, man. There's no training for that when you have no elevation to train on. You know, I can run a 10K, no problem. Right. But when you start throwing in those hills and everything, it's something else.
Yeah, I run into that here. You know, we don't have a lot of elevation. There's like one hill I guess I could run over and over again, but it's just not the same as like what you experience if you go do a mountain run like what you're talking about. It's hard to train your body for that if you don't have the actual terrain to do it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, that was definitely the hardest. I've done some pretty difficult like CrossFit stuff, you know, that will burn your muscles out, but there's nothing that compared to an hour and 45 minutes of terrain, and just that took it out of me.
All right, man. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
It's a hard one. I think the best activity for building mental toughness is just finding a way to say yes. You know, there's always times where you don't want to do a workout, you know, kind of like I was talking about earlier. But having to find that willpower to push through. You know, there's times in the middle of a workout you're just like, man, I'm done. I don't have it in me. But finding that way to continue and just do one more rep. You know, you have to defeat that kind of inner talk that's telling you to quit or stop or be complacent, because that's when your gains happen. Doing that one extra rep when it hurts and pushing through when you don't want to, that's when you actually gain. It's not all the work that gets you to that point. It's getting through that point and breaking through that barrier that you start seeing gains.
All right, if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, barbell, hands down. I like lifting heavy things, man. That's my thing. There's nothing like that high you get.
I feel like the barbell is making a comeback. When I first started asking this question, it was all barbell. I feel like we went through a period of like some different stuff, but more recently, I feel like the barbell has made a comeback, which is good. I'm happy about it. That's awesome. All right, now if the Garage Gym Genie could come and grant you a piece of equipment, what would it be?
A rower.
Rower?
I've wanted a rower for a long time. I was on the wait list over the COVID period, but finances didn't allow for it when my turn came up. But yeah, a rower would be fantastic. That's the one thing that I miss about going to the gym is, you know, all the equipment that they have that I don't. But I mean, you can make do with a lot of things. But yeah, rower for sure. I love the rower.
Yeah, it's a good piece of equipment. All right, man. You may have kind of already mentioned, but I'll ask it anyway. What is your best advice for all the Garage Gym athletes out there listening?
Always have a goal. Always have something that you're training for and pushing you forward towards. So, you know, like me, I always have 3 goals in mind. I always have a long-term goal, which is to be around for my kids and, you know, their kids when they have them. I want to be able to get down and play with my grandkids one day, and I want to live a long, healthy life. Right. So that's the ultimate end goal. And then I have like a 3 to 5 year plan, which is to get my kids involved in fitness and being healthy. I try to control their diet as much as possible. I don't shun sugar and stuff from them, but you try to educate them and give them the knowledge to make a smart decision. When they're like, oh, I want a snack after dinner or whatever, give them the option of a couple of pieces of fruit versus, a cookie or a brownie or something. And, they're going to 9 times out of 10 be okay with that. And, get them out here and let them play on the rings and play with the barbells. And I got them some small, 2.5 pound and 5 pound dumbbells, stuff like that. And just not try to force it down their throat, but let them come out when they want to, and just kind of foster that. So that's kind of the 3 to 5 year goals. Start getting them involved in sports activities and working out and just being healthy, unlike most kids. And then the short-term goals, obviously training for that Charleston Bridge Run and the Beast in November. So great, always have something that you're pushing towards.
Yeah. And I think, just hitting on that kids thing, I mean, it's such a fine line, right? We could all be the parent who just has the rule, says no, whatever. But I mean, I feel like that's an easier road to parenting. It's a lot harder to develop a child that wants to say no to a bad decision, right? Like, right. And that's the end goal. Like, if you be like, which one do you want? Like this one that's bad or this one that's good? And they're like, I'll take the good snack or the good food, and having them actually decide on that. That's the true win, in my opinion, as opposed to, like you're saying, just being like, no, you can't have any sugar, and that's the rule. And because the second they leave your house, what's going to happen?
Right.
And
so that's the balance that I'm trying to strike, and we're making a lot of headway, especially with my oldest daughter. She's old enough to start making some decisions. She's about to be 7 years old, but even now, like, she had a tummy ache the other day, and she wanted to eat something. She's like, well, I think I should eat something healthy to make my stomach stop hurting. I'm like, well, that's probably a good idea, So, she's making some good decisions now, and, you just got to foster those. And I don't want to be the parent that's shoving it down her throat, but you also can't just give in and let them have candy every time that they want to have it. So just got to strike that balance.
Yeah, we're doing the same stuff, man. So I think that's awesome. We really try to, if they are going to eat something unhealthy and like say their stomach does hurt afterwards, we just kind of help them make that connection. Be like, hey, so just so you know,
exactly,
you had 6 pieces of pizza and now your stomach hurts.
There's probably a correlation.
Maybe something there, and my oldest, he's really latching onto it. He's starting to get what's good and what's bad. And so it does work over a certain amount of time, but it does take them letting them fail, so to speak, or make the mistakes as opposed to just setting the rules. So I think that's awesome. And I think a lot of people could take away from that. Well, Bryant, man, you're awesome. You're doing a lot of cool stuff, awesome goals, awesome mindset. Best of luck on the Bridge Run in Charleston and that upcoming Beast in November. And for being a part of the community, man. I know you said you get a lot out of it, but you also contribute a lot to it. So we appreciate that. So thanks for being a Garage Gym athlete and, doing all that you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
The Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.